Ever feel that tug? Like you strayed from something essential, something you didn't even realize you were missing until it was gone. Today, we're diving deep into a piece of writing that explores that exact feeling. The experience of straying from faith and the possibility of finding your way back.
Yeah, it's a powerful theme, isn't it? One that resonates across cultures and throughout history.
Absolutely. And what grabbed me about this particular piece is how it uses such vivid imagery and metaphors to pull you into that emotional journey. Right from the start, you've got this line, "Oh, wandering soul, come home." It's like a beacon reaching out through the darkness.
It's a line that stops you in your tracks, isn't it? And it immediately sets up this idea of a journey, a separation from something that was once familiar and comforting, that phrase, wandering soul. It speaks to a kind of deep restlessness, a longing for something more, something true.
It does, but what I find fascinating is how the text also captures that initial allure of leaving that almost intoxicating excitement, of forging your own path.
Right. It talks about the journey that shimmered with promise, a tapestry woven with the threads of excitement and endless possibility. It doesn't shy away from the seductive nature of those feelings, the pull toward the unknown, even when it might lead us astray. It's that classic human dilemma, isn't it? That constant tension between what we know deep down to be true and the allure of what seems exciting in the moment.
And this piece doesn't let us off easy when it comes to the consequences of those choices, does it?
Never.
It gets real about the pain, the guilt, that feeling of having lost your way.
It really does. There's a sharp turn in the text where it says, "And now the fall has been swift and harsh, a plummet from grace into the depths of despair." The words themselves, disgrace, pit, shame, they create this visceral sense of heaviness, a stark contrast to that earlier excitement. It's like the writer wants you to feel the weight of those choices, the reality of the consequences.
It reminds me of that line from Proverbs. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. It's a pretty timeless warning, isn't it?
It really is. And I think it speaks to a fundamental truth about the human condition, that our own ego and self-reliance can be our downfall. This text does a brilliant job of exploring the psychological and spiritual fallout of that pride, that sense of being disconnected from something larger than ourselves. The writer talks about that feeling of regret, the guilt, the utter lostness that can come when we realize we've gone too far.
You mentioned something earlier about being disconnected from something larger. I was struck by how this text uses the metaphor of home to represent that connection, that sense of belonging. It's not just about a physical place, is it?
You've hit on something really important. It's like the writer is trying to get at something deeper than a physical location. It's more about a state of being, a sense of belonging, of unconditional love and acceptance.
It's interesting because when most people think of home, it evokes warmth, security, a sense of belonging. And this piece seems to be drawing a parallel between those feelings and our relationship with faith with God.
Exactly. And I think that's where the text really starts to resonate on a deeper level. It's suggesting that maybe what we're all searching for, that feeling of true home, can only be found in something that transcends our physical existence.
It's almost like the writer is saying that even when we try to create our own sense of home in the world, it's ultimately an illusion.
Right, because it's built on shaky ground. Real home-lasting peace. It has to be rooted in something bigger than ourselves. And that's where the text starts to turn towards hope. It starts to hint that even after making significant mistakes, even after wandering far from what we knew, there's still a possibility of returning.
You know, one of the things I find most compelling about this piece is how it weaves in these biblical allusions and metaphors. And one of the most powerful examples is its use of the parable of the prodigal son. Do you want to unpack that a bit for us?
Oh, it's such a powerful story, isn't it? And this piece doesn't just retell it. It seems to breathe new life into it, drawing out these incredible layers of meaning.
It's that image of the father running to meet his sons always gets me. There's such raw, visceral emotion in that moment, a complete disregard for societal expectations. I mean, this is a father who's been publicly humiliated by his son, and yet he doesn't hesitate for a second. He doesn't wait for an apology, for any grand gesture of repentance. He just runs.
Yeah, it's almost scandalous in its generosity, isn't it? It flies in the face of how we think justice should work. We tend to believe that forgiveness has to be earned, that there should be some period of groveling, of proving ourselves worthy. But this father, he embodies a completely different kind of love, a love that doesn't keep score, that doesn't hold back.
And I think that's what the writer is getting at, this radical notion of grace. It's not about what we deserve. It's about being welcomed back into the fold, not as servants, but as beloved children.
Precisely. There's that line in the text. He doesn't see your failures. He sees your potential. He doesn't see where you've been. He sees where you're going. It's like the writer is holding up a mirror to our own tendency to define ourselves by our past mistakes. And yet this message of grace, it offers us a way out of that self-condemnation.
It's interesting, too, how the text uses those specific details for the parable. The best robe, the ring, the fatted calf. It's not just about being forgiven, it's about being fully restored, welcomed back into a place of honor and celebration.
Those details are so powerful, aren't they? Because they speak to a restoration that goes beyond just words. The robe represents a covering of righteousness. The ring signifies a return to authority and sonship. And the feast, that outpouring of celebration, it symbolizes the overwhelming joy of reconciliation.
And I can't help but wonder if part of what makes this so powerful is that it taps into a longing that so many of us feel, that longing for a love that sees past our flaws, a love that welcomes us home no matter what.
Absolutely. I think that's why this image of home is so central to the piece. It represents that place of unconditional acceptance, that place where we can finally let go of the shame and guilt that we've been carrying around.
It makes me think of that line from the text. Your heart-weary traveler was made for this homecoming. There's such tenderness in those words, isn't there? It's like a balm for the soul.
It really is, and I think it speaks to that universal human experience of feeling lost and then finding our way back, whether it's to a physical place, a relationship, or, as this text suggests, to something even more profound, a sense of belonging in the grand scheme of things.
I love how this piece doesn't shy away from the raw emotion of it all. It acknowledges the pain of straying, the weight of regret, but it doesn't leave us there. It offers this incredibly hopeful message that it's never too late to turn around, that there's always a path back to that place of love and acceptance. But it's not just about going back to how things were before, is it? The text talks about it being a new creation.
It's like the writer's saying this isn't about hitting the rewind button, but about embracing a transformation, a new beginning.
It's that line from 2 Corinthians that really drives it home. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. The old has gone, the new is here.
I get chills every time I hear that verse. It's such a beautiful reminder that our past doesn't have to define us. We have the power to step into a new way of being a life marked by forgiveness, grace, and the incredible freedom that comes with knowing that we are loved unconditionally.
And I think that's where this piece takes us, beyond just a theological discussion about sin and redemption. It gets to the heart of what it means to be human, to mess up, to yearn for something more, and to ultimately find our way back to a place of belonging. There's this interesting tension in the text, isn't there? It offers this beautiful message of hope, but it also ends with this really strong call to action.
Yeah.
It feels like it's saying, okay, now what? You've heard the message?
Yeah.
What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, you're right. There's an urgency there. It's like the writer is gently shaking us awake, reminding us that this isn't just a feel-good story. It's a call to action.
And what's interesting is that it doesn't end with some heavy ultimatum or threat of punishment. It ends with an invitation to a celebration.
That's the beauty of it, isn't it? It's like the writer is saying, look, the party's already started, the table is set, all that's missing is you.
It's that line, come home, wandering soul, and let the celebration begin. It gives me chills every time.
Because it speaks to a truth that our hearts long for, but our minds often struggle to grasp, that joy and forgiveness aren't reserved for some distant future. They're available to us right now in this very moment.
It's like we're conditioned to believe that happiness is something we have to earn, something we achieve after we've ticked off all the boxes, atoned for all our mistakes. But this text, it flips that script.
Completely. It's like the writer is whispering, stop striving, stop trying to prove yourself, just come home. Your true self, the one you were created to be, is waiting here for you.
You know, one thing that struck me as we were diving into this piece is that it doesn't offer any easy answers or step-by-step instructions for finding your way back.
That's a really astute observation, and I think it's intentional, because this isn't about following some formula or checklist. It's about a heart change, a willingness to let go of our own self-sufficiency and surrender to something bigger than ourselves.
It's about trusting that even though we've messed up, even though we've wandered far from where we're supposed to be, there's a love that's big enough to welcome us back, scars and all.
Exactly. And that's a message that resonates with anyone who's ever felt the sting of regret, the weight of their own mistakes. This text reminds us that we're not defined by our failures, that there's always hope, always a way back to that place of belonging.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, is there one thought, one question you hope our listeners are left wrestling with?
You know, throughout this entire piece, I keep coming back to that word, home, and I think it's a question worth pondering. What does home truly represent for you? Is it a physical place, a relationship, a state of being? And have you been searching for it in all the wrong places? Because maybe, just maybe, home isn't about where we are, but who we are, and more importantly, whose we are.
That's a powerful thought to leave us with. Thanks for diving into this with me today. It's been truly enlightening.
The pleasure was all mine. It's always a joy to explore these profound themes and unravel the layers of meaning woven into such a beautifully written piece.
Thank you for joining us today on Sermon Insights, where we delve deep into the messages that inspire and challenge us. If you found today's review enlightening and you're eager for more thoughtful breakdowns of powerful sermons, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to click the notification bell so you won't miss out on any of our future episodes. We're here to uncover the depths of these messages together, and your engagement helps us bring more insightful content directly to you. Subscribe now, and let's continue this journey of faith and understanding together.